Hello. Welcome to A Word of Hope on this Wednesday, September 9th. Today, the Church celebrates the feast of St. Peter Claver, and although I almost always focus directly and exclusively on the Gospel, today I actually want to spend some time on this saint because he is so pertinent to what is going on in the racial unrest in our country in this day. St. Peter was born in Spain late 16th to early mid-17th century, and he became a Jesuit priest. He sailed from Spain to Cartagena, Colombia, where he participated in ministering to the slaves that were brought from Africa to Colombia. America had already been involved in the slave trade for 100 years, and Cartagena was a center of receiving the slaves from West Africa. In looking at the little biographical sketch of St. Peter Claver, it said, 10,000 slaves poured into the port each year after crossing the Atlantic from West Africa under conditions so foul and inhuman that an estimated 1/3 of the passengers died in transit. Although the practice of slave trading was condemned by Pope Paul III, it continued to flourish. The biographical sketch goes on to say that Peter Claver went to Colombia to replace another Jesuit, Father Alfonso de Sandoval, who had been there for 40 years ministering to the slaves. And when Peter Claver arrived there, he said of himself and his work that he was the slave of the Negroes forever. His own words. What was so interesting was that as soon as a slave ship entered the port, Peter Claver moved into its infested hold to minister to the ill-treated and miserable passengers. After the slaves were herded out of the ship like chained animals and shut up in nearby yards to be gazed at by the crowds, Claver plunged in among them with medicines, food, bread, brandy, lemons, and tobacco. With the help of interpreters, he gave basic instructions and assured his brothers and sisters of their human dignity and God's saving love. What an example we have on this day, on this feast of St. Peter Claver, of somebody who dedicated his whole life for 40 years to ministering to people who had been so unjustly treated. We are living in a day and age, my friends, in which we need to take his example to heart. And we need to see and to wonder about how we too can participate in setting things right, especially for those who are so unjustly treated in our society. Our country is going through such turmoil with regard to racial injustice. And we need to find ways, like Peter Claver, of living up to the gospel message, which today is the Beatitudes and the Woes from St. Luke. We need to find our way of making a difference and righting wrongs and taking injustice and making it just for all peoples equally. God bless you.